Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. And today is December 1st, 2023, and today is Friday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, Dow Jones rallies to new yearly highs. Now, it's not all-time highs, but it's new yearly highs, and only 600 points away from its record highs. But first, looking at today's major economic events. So we start out the day at 5 p.m. South African time, first out of the United States, ISM Manufacturing PMI numbers coming out. Now that's followed with 6 p.m. Fed Chairman Powell will be speaking from the United States. He's the federal chairman of the Federal Reserve. Now looking at today's activity, starting out with the Forex symbols, the euro and the British pound get a bounce. While looking at the indices, the Dow Jones has a big run, while the NASDAQ remains unchanged. Now looking at commodities, gold steady, while oil falters on the downside. And specifically looking at the stocks, it's non-tech stocks that push the markets higher, while NVIDIA sells off. Lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin back on its resistance. Let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we go. First with the Euro USD, it's not a big deal, but we got a little bit of a bounce here, okay? We went up all the way to 110-ish level. We didn't hold it, and then we retraced, okay, as you can see here. Now, this is a weekly chart, so it's a little bit harder to see. So let's just jump to a 4-hour chart. That's the move all the way up to 110. Didn't hold it, and then retraced. Now, we retraced about 120 pips, and now we're jumping about 30 pips. Not a big deal, but just realize that the trend is still upwards, okay? Just because you've had a retracement doesn't mean that the trend is still upwards, okay? Now, the second point is we are getting to an area where we're hitting resistance-ish area. 110 is resistance, 114 is also resistance. So, I mean, there's going to be a big bounce here. If it does follow through, then there's going to be a big bounce to the upside. However, if it doesn't, then it's going to falter and make some sort of corrective move. I don't know to what point, maybe to 107-ish level, okay, on the lower end of it. But it's a choppy market for the euro right now. So it's a little bit of just take quick kind of profits. The British pound also doing the same thing. What's interesting though, okay, let's jump to the Canadian dollar. I haven't followed this so much, but it's becoming interesting because on a daily, we are hitting our 200-day moving average, which is relatively a supportish area for the USD Canadian dollar. So the Canadian dollar has significantly got stronger, about 300 points. And that is important because if it does break this, it'll mean that it will further break. Now, the dollar is getting weaker because the Dow Jones is getting stronger, and that is playing in tandem. And it's also because commodities are relatively strong right now. So it's a few factors here, and intermarket analysis does help. Now, jumping into gold. First, let's take a look at gold, and then we'll see oil. Gold trading at 2039, not much of a change from yesterday. If you look at a 4-hour chart, almost trading sideways. So it's steady, but not going up further higher, at least for now. Now, looking at oil, we've been trading in a very tight range. And the other day, we had an OPEC meeting, didn't have any effect on the market. So this is something to consider, is that we look like we're flatlining when we're looking at oil. Now, jumping into the U.S. markets, this is where it's at. The Dow Jones, look at that, 36,000 and holding. And yesterday it was pretty strong. Okay, before the market actually opened, it looked like it was just going to take it higher. And sure enough, that's where we went up to 36,000. Okay, now how much further can we go? Okay, so we do have resistance at 36,600. That's the all-time highs, okay, 700-ish level. We're only about 600 points away from that. Not to be taken lightly. I mean, this is really a big run up. Whereas we're looking at the NASDAQ, didn't go higher, okay? None of those stocks went higher, okay? Which is kind of interesting because those were the ones that were taking us higher earlier. So which stocks did take us higher? Well, it's the old school stocks. It's not ALCOA. Unfortunately, ALCOA did gain a little bit, but not some of the stocks that we generally follow here, like Boeing and some of the other healthcare providers. That has been very strong. So it's a different sector. However, that doesn't mean that you don't have access to trading things that are trading well, like NVIDIA. Take a look at this on the downside. Now, I don't like to play the downside on an up market, but NVIDIA was very, very weak here and sold off quite significantly, okay, over the past couple of days. 481 to 467, that's a $14 move on the downside, you know, so you should be able to catch that. Even if the markets are going higher and this thing is going lower, there is something about this that it is going lower. So keep that in mind when these type of things happen. Now, JP Morgan also pushed higher, which was another big board stock, which is a Dow Jones. So it did push higher. So the banks were pretty strong yesterday as well. So those were the things that moved the markets higher. And if you look at Microsoft, didn't push higher yesterday. Okay, it bounced. Okay, at the end of the day, but it sold off. Okay, we're still off by not a lot, $5 off of our all-time highs, but it did take a little bit of a breather, and that's why the NASDAQ didn't go higher either. Now, lastly, looking at Bitcoin, back in play on our highs. This thing is just grinding higher. It does have to break above 38,400 to continue this upwards momentum, but keep it on check because this could still develop into a nice trade on the upside for the end of the year. This is Fed Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.